In this video, I will introduce you to the KEEL Reviewer application. It is another tool available to KEEL licensees that makes it easy to review the behavior of autonomous systems, and thus delivering explainable AI. KEEL Reviewer is a Windows application that runs on PC and Mac. The first thing to do is to open a project file that describes the behavior you are reviewing. In this case, I am loading a project demonstrated to NATO for an autonomous weapons system, or a machine with a gun. The way you audit the behavior of a system is to trace wires from the decision point back to its influencing factors. You observe the significance, or value, of influencing factors. You click on significant items, observing their labels. The wires turn red when you click on connection points, so you can trace the path to the source of the information. You trace the influence through intermediate integration nodes, all the way to the source. It takes about 5 minutes of training to understand the process. Because our objective is to review real-world behaviors, KEEL engines have the ability to log real-world data. This information could be compressed to save space, or could be saved as an XML file. The XML format is the format that is used by KEEL Reviewer. If it is saved in compressed format, it will have to be uncompressed to the XML format to be used by KEEL Reviewer. Here we are using the Load Inputs menu option to read the XML format into KEEL Reviewer. Once it is read one time, you can use the F8 key to reload inputs. Once the recorded data has been read into KEEL Reviewer, it can be analyzed by tracing the wires. This process is used in the KEEL toolkit when real-world external intelligence is being used as the operational policy is being developed. It can also be used to explain specific instances of events that have been archived. The next process available to us in order to audit the behavior of an autonomous system is called language animation. This process can be used if you have a simulation or communication link that can publish real-time data during an active mission. To set up an animation, you use the Setup Animation menu option. This opens the animation window. You identify the file that will be monitored and a rate that you will read that file. This information will animate the KEEL language in KEEL Reviewer. Using this process, you can almost watch the system think in real time. Just watching the system think may be interesting, but it is probably too difficult for the human brain to keep up. So one of the things you can do is to trap the system when particular decisions are made. In this case, we may want to trap on the decision to engage, or shoot at, the adversary. This is a binary decision, so we just have to trap on our engage decision to see when it transitions from 0 to 100. So we will watch for a value when our engage position 0 is greater than 50. At this point we have stopped monitoring the real-time data. KEEL Reviewer stopped, and we can trace back to the influencing factors that were in place at the instant we detected the engage decision. It is important to note that in analyzing complex adaptive systems, it is also important to analyze situations when the system failed to make a decision, or in this case failed to engage, when it may appear that it should have engaged the target. This process may be helpful in testing simulations, but it may not be helpful in performing after-mission reviews. So far we have just been reading a single file that is being overwritten as new data arrives. But for after-mission reviews, the data will be continuously recorded with timestamps. When the KEEL toolkit creates source code for inclusion in production devices, some sample code is provided to create the XML file used by KEEL Reviewer. If the user adds timestamp information to the file title, a series of XML packages can be created. It is the user's responsibility to save all relevant decisions and actions. Think of this as if it is the data saved in the black box of a commercial aircraft. To support after-mission reviews, we have another approach to language animation. As before, we use the Setup Animation menu option. Again, we identify the input file that will be used to animate the language. But this time, we will open a directory where the black box data has been saved. In this case, each of the instances saved by the autonomous system has been saved to a separate timestamped file. A list of files is provided. The auditor can mouse through the list. As each file is highlighted, it is copied to the file read by KEELReviewer and used to animate the rendering of the policy. The auditor can step forward and backward and trace the influencing factors at any instant. The purpose is always to ensure that the policy is operating correctly. Because we are still dealing with large amounts of data, we still have the opportunity to use the trap function to trap on events. So just like before, we can trap on decisions or actions. In this after-mission review case, we have stepped through the black box data until we found the particular decision we are interested in. When we have trapped on a decision, moving up and down the list does not change the data on display. Only by clicking on the Start button again, will the selection of different items in the list drive the animation. In addition to KEELReviewer, there is one other tool that can be used to partially explain the behavior of KEEL-based autonomous systems. When there is the need for an executive review, that is only interested in understanding what the autonomous system was considering in its decisions and actions, then KEEL Influence may be helpful. KEEL Influence extracts the influencing factors from the KEEL-based policy and displays that information as an interactive influence diagram. The user can manually arrange the information fusion points to highlight points of interest. While an influence diagram may be helpful in showing the big picture, you have to use KEELReviewer to expose the system's value system, and how valued factors are integrated at the point of key decisions and actions. KEEL influence diagrams can be copied and pasted in other documents as images. Segments of the design can be extracted and printed. KEEL Influence is primarily a documentation tool. But remember, with autonomous systems, as with human systems, things will go wrong and someone will be held responsible. You will need all the tools at your disposal to confirm that your systems are doing what you want them to do. KEEL technology allows you to create mathematically explicit adaptive operational policies. KEELReviewer exposes the internals of the policy without requiring one to be familiar with programming languages or higher-level mathematics. With just a little training, even an executive, or a politician, should be able to perform an after-mission review to ensure that the policy is working as desired. KEELReviewer extends the services provided by KEEL technology with a specific focus on after-mission reviews, where it is mandatory that you are using an explainable and auditable policy in safety-critical systems.